Okay, so following on from the analysis from the codes of practice, we've actually done a case study which is from the vet school, and we went over and did a semi-structured interview with one of the lecturers there who she actually delivers the module for professional and personal skills. And as you may be aware, the vet school is 5 years old and they're just having their their five-year students graduate this year. And before they actually started their school, they were in quite a nice position because they were able to see what other vet schools did across the country and choose a pathway of how they might want to do something a little bit different. And before they actually developed their curriculum, they went out and had a look at the code of conduct for the Royal Veterinary Surgeons. They looked at the university website of what was required within learning outcomes, etc. They also did extensive surveys of people within practice as well, so practitioners. I think something that you would perhaps do and take in the professional approach to see what sort of things they wanted to embed within their curriculum. And rather than it being quite separate to the theory being taught in a couple of years and then they perhaps go out into practice and do practice-based learning, they decided that they wanted a more combined approach that started right at the very beginning. So they had developed a particular module called Professional and Personal Skills, which is compulsory for all of their students, and it starts off in year 1 and it goes through year 2, year 3 and year 4, and then they go out into industry year 5. And what they have done is they've developed this module that has basic skill sets, so it might be doing IT or Excel and those sorts of projects, but it also focuses on being a responsible person, it focuses on ethics and how you behave professionally. They have said that it has been an evolving module because obviously the first year they did it, they reviewed the module to see how it could be refined. So they took student view, they took practitioner views, and they took the lecturer views. And the module is actually only delivered in small group teaching, so they don't do any big lectures at all. It's about 8 to 10 students in each of the modules, and it might be practical based as well. So they'll have things like client days where they'll actually ask the client to come in and they'll do a role play with a client, and the client will have a specific problem with one of their animals, and it's how they actually deal with that particular person. So how do they deal with someone who's upset or who needs calming down. And so they've refined this. They have said that one of the problems with the school being quite small to start off with and it's growing and growing is one of keeping good communications between lecturers and how they're developing that. They've also said that it's very, very difficult to assess professionalism. How do you assess when someone's professional? And the way that they do it is they do have, the students have to submit a piece of work. They have to submit it in a given format, in a given timeline, and they either pass or fail it. So it is a module that can be pass or failed. And I did ask the question, well, do people fail it? And they do. So it's quite interesting that that's the way that they get around trying to build in that professional aspect rather than perhaps deducting the -5 for red coursework, that they're dealing with it in a more responsible, they're looking at the responsible aspect of it and the more professional aspect. So what we're having a look at on this particular one is course setup, how it's been structured, what type of skills they're looking at within the course, how they actually define professionalism, and is it the same as we define it, how we see it, how they deliver it and assess the same. We've also got feedback from the last 4 years that takes into consideration external parties, practitioners, students, and also the module specification. So we've been quite lucky to have all the information provided to us by WebCT. So we're doing an ongoing analysis of that at the moment. So I think that will bring some quite rich findings for us.
Okay, and then we are going, after we have looked at that and hopefully come up with some maybe themes, category groups or interests and things like that, we are going to go into our 3 professional areas and are going to conduct some semi-structured interviews. We want to do that each for our profession, and we also want to do that with different people each, so that each of us is looking actually at practitioners, so the perspective from outside, looking at academics, the ones in between who are delivering the education, and then the students who are within the education and having possibly a certain expectation what they should be taught in preparation for the work in the profession. We are trying to, so far we've tried to come up with questions which we haven't conducted these interviews with our specific groups yet, but we'll do that soon, hopefully. I'm hoping that we will encounter as many problems as you have. Hopefully, because I think we are going we are going to approach people that we half know. So we are working with them anyway. So let's keep fingers crossed. But the question should be identical for all the areas, but at the same time they should be open enough to allow these different perspectives to come through. So far we have thought about 2 main questions. Actually, what are professional skills? And then these 4 bullet points would just be kind of helpers for us to see that we tick the main 4 categories that we so far have identified as being the different issues. One is basically attitude, behavior, and ethics. That is the person that you are and how you interact with people and communicate. The more traditional ones, knowledge, obviously you need to be competent, you need to know your subject, you need to have practical skills. If you cut somebody open, you need to be a very good surgeon, which is a craft. If you build things, there's a certain sense of practical skills, and practice is involved in that. But what comes up in more contemporary literature or discussions that we have, or when we see that codes, that requirements are being rewritten, is actually that intellectual reflective skills seem to has become more and more important as the world of the professionals is becoming more complex, faster, more fluid. We have less of a static framework against which we can take decisions. And in that sense, young people need to learn how to navigate through all of that, and still, without being able to know everything, still deliver that sense of trust, that there is a sense of overall understanding, and that. So these kind of intellectual reflective skills, we hope that they can be addressed within the first question, and we would expect that possibly, if you ask different people, that we would get very different answers there. Then the next question is, how or where would you expect to learn these skills? Because the way the courses are usually set up, it's not that learning only happens at the university. There are also years out, for example, which are part of the train course, and then you come back to university, then you work again in practice, then you come back and do exams, and so there is a very kind of clear interaction between practice and university. And it is interesting, possibly, hopefully, to hear who expects what to be taken on by whom, and how that changes. And in that sense, it's also the question, would you actually learn a few skills in everyday life? Right? Maybe something doesn't actually have to be taught. Or would you find that in the work placement or for an internship? Or would the university actually have to deliver these? And maybe there are some skills which are more likely to be introduced in one place or the other, but then practiced somewhere else, or can only be placed in one. So we'll see what we find out. So, and I think we are trying to keep these questions quite open so that we might also get some answers that we are not yet think. Of course, we have certain expectations, but we might be completely wrong with that. So let's see how that all goes. Because what we actually, I think what we find out is that, what I was told in that first semi-structured interview, I was kind of throwing out this word, yeah, we know what professionalism is, and then the lecturer actually said to me, you think you know. And I think that has been kind of what we have also come to realize the more we think about it. Actually,
just very much depends
you assume,
are.
you assume you know, but that is actually just one of many possible perspectives and not the whole picture. Okay.
So, overall with this presentation, I mean, it's a status report basically of where our project is. So, essentially you can see we're fairly grounded on what we now have picked out as professionalism, and we've managed out of that in our experience dealing with the literature and seeing what has been done so far, have boiled out of all of these different contributors our key question that we want to address in our whole project, and hopefully have demonstrated to you some kind of research methodology that we're going to use, which is heavily based on semi-structured interviews, either for the case study for the vet school or for our three strands, business, architecture and teaching. So I would say at this point, thank you very much, and are there any questions?